Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with James now and a few of his colleagues here on the call for a few years, and it's been a fantastic time watching Carrington West grow from strength to strength, as the title very subtly points out. They doubled their revenue in 2 years, and I think that's a pretty monumental task for a lot of companies. I think it's also a particularly strong task when you consider that this is a service-based company, and therefore the work comes directly from the people. You're only as good in recruitment as the person that you put in front of your client, and growing rapidly in that environment is very difficult. And so I think even more power here to Carrington West and what they've achieved. Quick shout out to Emily and Izzy, who are on the call, also from HR, and Amanda, who's been driving the marketing engine alongside that. But the star of the show, thanks, James Fernandes, the managing director of Carrington West. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I think it's worth saying we wouldn't be as good as we are without our people on the call. So I need to give a shout out to Emily, Amanda, and Izzy, and others within the business. So I can't take all the credit, although they feel I probably do.
Well, that's the fun of it, isn't it? You get to stand at the top. Anyway, I've got some slides, some support here with regards to visuals and graphs, etc. But I'm going to hide the screen for now so that we can focus on James himself. So, as already alluded to, Carrington West doubled its revenue in 2 years by placing employee engagement at the core of the strategy. But before we dive into that, let's sort of set the scene a little bit. What inspired you to prioritize employee engagement, and how did that how did you convince everyone else in the business? At what point was that?
It's interesting. We have to go all the way to our foundation to answer that question, and that where myself and my co-founder were working at a big corporate and decided that we felt we could do better for ourselves and our clients, our candidates, and create a much better company than the company we were working for. So that was really the foundations of what we wanted to try and set up. So if you want to show the slide of our first ever Carrington West office, which actually was in a converted garage with 2 fold-out camping tables, old mobile phones, and a couple of laptops, no clients, and everything like that. So we had to really dig deep to work on what the Carrington West why was. And the Carrington West why, which we've kind of defined since, is that we just believe in being better in every way and every day. And that translates to being the best possible employer. So from absolutely day one, we set everything up within the business to try and achieve that goal. So since then, we've grown from 2 people to over 100 in 12 years, 7 office moves, won lots of awards, including best place to work, best employer in the Sunday Times top 10 medium employers in the country. So that was a huge sort of a defining achievement for us. But so it all started with the Carrington West why of we believe in being better in every way, every day, and therefore being the best possible employer. And the way we encouraged and convinced the rest of the SLTs we grew, and the rest of the people within the business, that this was the way forward. And not only have we actually sort of had it validated by results, but it's a case of the vision is born out of that why, and the vision directly leads on all the decisions we make, even down onto a daily basis. So we ask the question, if we have any tough decisions, like sort of things that we had to do over COVID, we looked at our vision and said, is this going to get us closer to the vision? And the first line within our vision states we want to be the best possible employer where everyone can reach their full potential. So it's not very difficult to convince people to put engagement as the center of their policies and behaviors if it's in the vision already. And we hire people who already believe that. So So it's never completed, it's never done, and that's the beauty, I think, of our whys, that being better is never, we never cross that finish line. It's continuous development.
Sure, and I think that's what I find quite interesting there about that why is it's not sort of hugely prescriptive on exactly what you what you do. You're not. It's not about being the top recruitment company in your sector, the largest recruitment company, etc. It's about something bigger. Is that so fair to say? It's about something bigger and more powerful that gives people a something to focus on beyond their day-to-day, beyond placing that next candidate or hitting that next target. It's about that both personal and professional sort of development, and I think that's what's powerful.
Key. That's about bringing people on the journey with you. So when we hire people, we obviously try to get people who are hungry, humble, smart, but also believe in what we believe. And when you work with people who believe what you believe, you can achieve amazing things. And so people do understand that we want to be the best possible employer, not the best possible recruitment company, but employer. And I think we can be world class, and I think that's what we're striving towards. But our people are a huge part of that. And so from the feedback they give us continuously, that helps us improve. And so we really push that within the company culture, is that keep telling us what we're doing right and wrong, so we can keep on this journey together, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Like, if we become the best possible employer, our employees are going to be pretty happy. So it works. It seems to work quite well, and that's the culture you've got to kind of try and create.
Yeah, you've previously referred to this as a flywheel, which is obviously how you kind of set this up. So I've got the Carrington West flywheel here. I'm interested to sort of have a look through that and get your sort of ideas on that, and really understand what that means from a strategic perspective. So we've set this goal: we want to be the best employer. How does that translate into
the flywheel is essentially the strategy on how we actually achieve being better every day in every way. So if you want to show the slide of it, it's all surrounded and centered on the Carrington West why. Nothing happens without that. That's what gets us out of bed in the morning. That's what makes us strive to work hard and be passionate about what we do. Around that, again, we've got the Carrington West values, Carrington West PI, passion, integrity, and excellence. This describes our behaviours to each other and obviously our customers. But the flywheel, essentially, if we all picture the big wheel of fortune wheel, and you can give it one big push, the silver bullet, and you'll get the wheel going fast at the beginning, but it slows down. The better way to create momentum in this flywheel is numerous small pushes over time. So the way the flywheel works is, if you complete something within one segment, you can't help but get the results that are in the next segment, and so on and so forth. So our flywheel business strategy starts essentially with, if you look after, this is the top right segment, if you look after the well-being, engagement, and learning and development of your people, you can't help but have motivated, happy, and skilled people. And if you have that, you can't help but have great processes, systems, and a really sticky culture. If you do that, you can't help but have great business performance and customer service. The customers then become partners, and then you can't help but get business growth and create further opportunity for your people, and then keep investing in the well-being, engagement, and learning development. And so this flywheel is going around in circles, and every segment leads on to the next. But each time, as the yellow arrow kind of shows, we look at continuous feedback and improvements throughout. And we have different business focus on different parts of the flywheel. So each time that flywheel is going around, we're giving it more and more nudges. And as you do that, this flywheel gets faster and faster and faster. And that kind of is the growth of the business. And it starts looking after itself in huge chunks, especially when you've got great systems around it. But what is absolutely key, is continuous feedback and improvements throughout. And that leads to kind of the water pulse surveys that we've heavily relied on since COVID, essentially. over the last 3 years now. Fraser, we've been using Water, and it's embedded right throughout our business, and that's where we measure whether people's well-being is met, what the engagement levels are, whether they're happy, they're motivated, what other learning and development or self-development that they require. And so it's a huge part of how we measure, but then also improve each segment on that flywheel.
I think that's really interesting. One of the things I often find with people is most people want to be a good company to work. Most of them want to, make people happy. That's a sort of innate human desire. I think that the interesting thing here is how you convert that to business goals. We're told with stats all the time, the Cotter and Heskett study of the 90s showing that companies that focus on their employees outperform their competition by a factor of 4 over an 11-year study. We're constantly bombarded with these stats. They're more, engaged employees more profitable, etc., etc. But getting that into something that can, guide that business strategy and give, ultimately a business needs to exist, right? It needs to earn money, it needs to grow, it needs to do all the things, at that kind of top level that it needs to do. I think it's really interesting how you've got that kind of 6-stage thing that gives that clear link to the business growth. And as you said there, the business growth allows more investment. So I suppose then the question is that the proof's always in the pudding. It's easy to talk the talk, but was the walk walked, I suppose. Just quickly answering James' question there. Yes, we will share slides, and there will be a recording available as well. Moving through then, we've kind of, I suppose, given the spoiler alert already about doubling revenue in 2 years. What were the sort of tangible outcomes, that were kind of important to you, I suppose?
We always felt that the sales, the revenue, was actually just a byproduct or a result of doing things in the right way. So the things we kind of measure a little bit just before that. So if we work on the flywheel really well, we're hiring people who believe what we believe. We look after their well-being, engagement, and development. We then create a very sticky culture. And as a recruitment company, it's our USP. So this is what we sell to our clients: sticky culture. Why does that matter to our client? Right, well, they've got more highly trained, engaged people to work on their vacancies for them. They don't chop and change, so they're very knowledgeable about their sector. And so we create that sticky culture, which benefits our clients, means we can outperform our competition. And it's led to a retention rate of 90% over the years, which is absolutely unheard of in recruitment businesses, which generally hover around 50 or 60%. And actually, I think it's world-class in general. And so that USP of having a sticky culture and a really high retention rate then also happens to deliver results. So if you wanted to flick over to our revenue growth over since 2011, we're due to do probably around 90 million in turnover this year. Within recruitment, contract recruitment especially, revenue is vanity, really, because there's a lot of money in and out. But you can see the growth that we've had over the last few years has been pretty impressive. It's probably been our most challenging year ever this year, because of sort of more macroeconomic conditions. However, we've managed to grow revenue year on year, and we did 2 years of 50% growth back to back, which is difficult to keep up with in an internal side of things. But if you look at the sales, probably tells a really good story as well. So you can see up until about 2020, we were growing at a rate of maybe 20% per year, which is we were pretty happy with, probably again outperforming the market. And COVID hit, and we decided to almost double down on staff engagement and well-being, as a lot of businesses did. We worked out that it was actually working, and so we continued to do it, and I think maybe even double down again with the help of Water. So I think Fraser would look at this graph and say, well, since Water has been used at Carrington West, their growth has actually gone through the roof. So he can take the achievement from that. But so you can see we've always had decent growth, but it's absolutely accelerated over the last few years. And then we look at how we do against our competition as well. So I've sent another graph to Fraser. So are we just doing better because the tide is rising and the economics or the market is rising? So we did some analysis on that, and we were sort of very pleasantly surprised to have a look at, these are all our competitors, either working in the same sector as us or just very locally, so who can tap into the same resources as us. And what I always find fascinating with this is that at point zero in 2013 is where we've taken this data from. Each one of these businesses had the same opportunity for new staff, suppliers, clients, candidates, systems, tools. Some of these businesses have absolutely taken those opportunities and actually flown with them, or even some of the barriers and smashed through them. So you see some have and some haven't to different extents. This is all about having great people. So we've got a sticky culture with great people. We're highly motivated and trained. And then that's what this can produce. We absolutely do outperform our competitors year on, year out, which is great to see. And we didn't know that was going to be the case until we put this graph together. So we were pleasantly surprised when we did the analysis.
It's always nice when a graph comes together and shows you what you hope it will show you.
Exactly. Of course, I wouldn't have sent it to you unless it wasn't.
No, that's great. I mean, hopefully it's pretty clear to everyone here that not only was employee engagement made the central sort of key part of the strategy, it equally provided those results. When it comes to the day-to-day of what that looks like, what is it that you measure? What is it that you focus on that gives you this? You mentioned, you alluded to that idea that revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. I think it's probably fair to say there are elements within employee culture which are like that. Some things sound good but actually are meaningless, etc. What is it that matters, I suppose, to you?
Okay, so I've already mentioned, so retention is a huge KPI for us, because it really does tells a story about how well you're doing. But we also measure our engagement score. So we used to use annual surveys, which were the Gallup 12 questions, which gave us a good indication of how we were doing. We moved that to twice a year. Again, that it is a very useful tool. However, what we found is that we were getting data very late. So if you're actually doing something wrong, or you find it out, you could have changed that 12 months ago. But because you only do the surveys every 12 months or 6 months, you're getting very dated data. And so what we measure is engagement, and we measure this on a weekly basis. And what's key with that, maybe the overall number isn't as key as the direction of travel. And you can investigate this into the different pillars of engagement and what they mean. So that's one of our absolutely key KPIs, is in our vision that we've created for the business. So we measure that, and Emily Christmas, who's on the call, measures, probably on a daily basis. So that's definitely one of our key KPIs. That leads to retention. So retention is probably a result of engagement. And so we work really hard on all of these different pillars. And if we see something slipping, again, we take action. Another sort of KPI that we look at is actually feedback that we receive. We ask for feedback all the time, and I think probably our people might be getting a bit sick of it, but we do action and listen to all of the feedback that we get. And what's super, super important is that you feed back to your people that you've heard, and you are going to do something about it or not, and what the reasons might be. So feedback is something we measure very carefully. I think Emily told me in the last quarter we've had 6,000 messages to the business from just over 100 people. So that shows that people are really getting engaged with the direction of travel of the business and what we're trying to achieve. So those are the things we measure. As a recruitment company, we also measure tons and tons of activity stats, but I won't go into that too much now. We're a very data-driven business, and so yeah, Water does really help with that data, because otherwise engagement becomes this sort of ethereal thing of it's just in the mist, it's just how you feel. But when you can put stats to it, it makes it so much more powerful.
That's it. I mean, there's the old adage that, you know, what gets measured improves, right? And you know, if we are sort of finger in the air about how happy people are, the finger in the air, you know, may well be in the rough ballpark, but you can't see whether it's getting better, you can't see whether it's getting worse, and by and large, you only sort of notice things when they kind of hit you in the face, and it's a heavy-handed sort of issue to fix. Just quickly, I noticed a question here from Ian. I'm not intending to give a sort of in-depth demo of Water. I'm very, very happy to meet with anyone afterwards who wants to see that. I can be available. I can book a demo. There is a demo account that you can go and have a look through yourself. I'm sure we'll continue to touch on elements of the platform as we go, as James has mentioned. You know, live feedback really is the powerful thing here. It's long been my view that the annual survey, I don't think the annual survey was ever the right solution or the best solution. It was simply the best we had when things were, you know, it took a lot of time. You had to go out and give it to them, especially pre-computers. You know, if it's all one piece of paper, you don't want to embark on that every week or every month. I don't blame people for that. But I think it was the kind of least worst option that we had. Now that we have the technology and the ability to gather that live feedback from people, that gives us, as James has mentioned, the ability to get on things very, very quickly. We've kind of, I think, created the idea here of what's going on. Obviously, the ability of putting employee engagement at the centre of the strategy, and then having that turn into increased revenue is a kind of dream scenario, I think, for a lot of companies. And I think certainly what I have noticed is that people within the sort of HR space who are very focused on the engagement and the metrics and improving those sometimes struggle to infuse, you know, particularly CEOs who are not such believers in this, and you know, want to focus on revenue and you know, growth and those sorts of metrics, and don't necessarily see that link. I think the flywheel is a very good example of that. I'm very happy to kind of open questions. I've got a few more that I can ask, but if anyone has any questions that they want to put forward to James directly, do feel free to come on to the Q&A section and answer those. And I think it would be remiss of us not to mention that Emily Christmas is, of course, here, and the person, you know, with the sort of levers and the dials under her fingers, and has been instrumental in making a lot of this happen. Emily, very, very happy for you to jump on the call and throw in your 2 cents. That's entirely up to you. Happy to go either way on that, but
could I just say a couple more things, Fraser, in that?
Please.
I think people were jumping on the call expecting for a silver bullet on how to double your revenue. There is no silver bullet, and this is what makes Water very powerful. But our overall strategy is that if you start with why, you hire people who believe what you believe, and you focus on engagement, you'll create a business that has this flywheel, its own momentum, and will generate decent revenue. But what I always say when I've been asked what is the silver bullet, is kind of it's not like that. You have to do 1,000 different things really well, consistently, over and over, forever. So that's why it's hard. Not one thing we do is completely unique, is completely or very, very difficult. It's all out there in ether for everybody to go and find and understand. But the secret sauce is doing everything consistently over and over forever, which is the most difficult thing to do, which is why so many companies don't do it, because they don't put enough focus in. But if you do really just start with your why and your people, you can't help but then succeed and generate more revenue if you're focusing on it consistently, like the flywheel.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point as well that I've come across. People have often asked me, what's the secret bullet? I think I do often answer that the one thing that companies can do more that they by and large don't do is invest in manager training. I know that's something that you do a lot of, but we have woefully undertrained managers in the UK and I believe across the world. Helping those people is the sort of is something that can be done. And I think one of the reasons I'm keen to bring that up actually is that I've noticed that you guys use WATA to gather feedback on both what people want training on, but also what has been good about the training that has happened, and allows you to kind of continually evolve that. If we focus on that as a sort of micro kind of example of a kind of feedback loop, what was it that you were doing before, I suppose, and how do you do that now in order to make sure that the time and money that gets invested in this is well spent and has the outcome you want?
I suppose beforehand it's a bit more finger in the air. You're putting on different learning and development things, bits and pieces, whether that's external speakers, or just internal training sessions. And it's trial and error, which isn't really good enough because it can get very, very expensive, especially the external stuff that we do. And we invest very, very heavily. So we want to make sure it's working. So it's vitally important we get feedback on that. And also, if you ask people what they feel they need training on, and then you put it on their weight, they're far more engaged with it and bought into it and take a bit more ownership over their self-development. And we've reframed L&D to self-development, because only you can develop yourself. Like, we can put all the different training opportunities in front of you, but you've got to want to go and learn. Like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But you can make it thirsty, and that's what we do. We try and generate that thirst, and then give people the opportunities, and hopefully they jump in and grab it. But again, we do things like coaching, which is free. And again, the feedback on that has been really well received. Everybody at Carrington West has a coach. We train on how to coach and how to be coached, and it's had a huge impact on everything we do.
And I think something you said to me the other day when we were talking, if you think of a staged team, if you have everyone in your company, the best that they can be, the most sort of engaged, learning as much as they can, then you create a team of people who are better than everyone else in the industry. But your competitors, your even non-direct competitors. You build this kind of almost super team, and when you think of it in that sense, almost how can you fail? If we are, I've been reading the Diary of a CEO recently, and one of the things that it says in there is that every idea that's come out of your company, any sale, any marketing strategy, any business strategy, any product development, anything has come from within the group of people that you have in your company. And if you have all of those caring deeply about your company, learning about how they can be better, then you just have this kind of superpower that other companies are just not able to compete with. And we see, companies go Good to Great is a great book. Jim Collins, I know that the Flywheel has talked a lot about in that. There's plenty of companies, back to your graph of, you all start from the same place. There's plenty of companies who two companies start, one of them goes stratospheric, the other does not. And by and large, the reason is culture and people.
Absolutely. That's literally the only differentiator businesses have these days. The barriers to entry to do most things is quite low. And recruitment's a great example of that. All you need is a laptop, a bit of cash, to CV library and other job boards and other bits and pieces, and you're away, and a phone, of course. But the only way you can be better than your competition and differentiate yourself is through the people that you have. And so it's a no-brainer to focus on the wellbeing, engagement and learning development of those people, make your culture nice and sticky, get your retention rate up, and therefore you can create a great company. And it's never done, of course, that flywheel or the why mission to be better every way and every day. And it's never complete. It's like going to the gym. You don't suddenly go, right, I'd never have to go to the gym again. I'm done. We're constantly working on it. And the only way to do that is through feedback. Feedback is a gift, is a mantra that, again, I think people at Carrington West are probably pretty sick of. But I'd say almost on a daily basis, feedback is a gift. So let's keep giving that gift, and so we can continue to improve.
And I think that's very powerful, and certainly something that I've always admired about yourself and Carrington West is that you once said to me that positive feedback is by and large useless. It's the negative stuff that you'll learn something from, and I think that really
this is a poor teacher, they say.
Q&A is still very much open. If anyone has questions, they will ping up here and we can answer them. I don't know whether in an attempt to get camera working, Emily Christmas had a technical issue, but hopefully she will be able to join us again. Does anyone have any questions at this point about anything you've seen before, or any other element, I suppose, of Carrington West and culture and that side of things? I'll leave that one hanging. And oh, we have a question. What is the average age of staff in the business?
Emily can probably tell you that. She's still on the line. I think it's probably around 28, 29.
So Emily isn't on the line, so we won't be able to confirm that. Maybe Izzy can. It's
probably around 28, 29. Yeah.
So I think, I suppose that skews slightly younger than average. I think that's fairly common in the recruitment industry anyway. Going sort of further on this, what sort of effects do you find of that? We can all sit here and joke about how terrified we are of Generation Z taking over the workforce, but what's been your perception of a company with that sort of age?
So yeah, we do have a younger profile of people, but we have people older than that, of course. But I think we generally have quite a lot of grads come through the business, and because we've had quite rapid growth recently, they're probably like the majority of the staff that we have. I know that there's generally a bit of a negative view on the latest generations that are coming through, and we've had mixed experiences, but I don't think they're any worse or better than any other previous generation. In actual fact, I think some of the most recent grads that we've hired have probably been some of the best people we've ever hired in terms of their attitude, their hardworking, and just their general graft and grit is off the charts. So I think it might be you have to look a bit harder in the current group to find them, but there are some absolute superstars in there. So if you've got your recruitment process up to scratch to really find these people, then I don't feel like there's a huge issue with this. I think maybe the question on the age might have been around whether people were willing to adapt to giving feedback, and what sort of age profiles are most likely to do it. Everybody in our business gives the feedback and goes on water. I think we have a high engagement rate on the app, and so I don't see that it makes a difference. It might be that people that are a little older might have had a bit more experience and actually probably really appreciate having the opportunity to give feedback on a daily, weekly basis, because they may have had previous roles where that's just not been available to them. I think the younger crop of people that are coming into our business, they don't know any different. They don't realise that most companies don't actually ask for feedback and potentially don't even care about what their opinion is. So I think we probably find that people who have had other roles and experience in other roles really appreciate the app, probably more so younger generation coming through.
That's really, really good insight. We've actually just done some work with the University of Durham around survey fatigue within our system. So we will be releasing some insights on that as we go. Any other questions at this point? We are still we have plenty of time left at this end. Keen to make sure that we get to people's burning questions if there are any. We can of course continue nattering, or we could go and top up our coffees or whatever it is that we fancy. No immediate questions there.
Well, if after this session, I'm happy for Fraser to share my contact details. If anyone did have any follow-up questions, I'm always happy to help other people with sharing some experience, even if it's just telling you things that we did that didn't work, so what not to do. I think I've found that's probably been more helpful when I've been talking to mentors and other things before. So happy to answer any other questions offline if you wanted.
Excellent. Likewise, I'm very happy with anyone to connect with me. I will ping an email to everyone with that information for contacting James, and also a recording. And I'm very happy to jump on and show anyone anything they like about Water and what it is we're doing, and how the sort of tech enables the strategy there. If there aren't any more questions, I think we can probably wrap it up.
Good with me.
A couple of seconds. Otherwise, it's been a real pleasure to see you again, James. Great to see Amanda and Izzy on the call. Hopefully, Emily is all right, and the technical issues were purely online issues and not computers on fire or any other such dangers. No further questions at this point. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I'll send an email to follow up. We'll go from there. Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks everyone.